All right, everyone, there's this new report on the fastest growing Shopify stores for July 2026. So these are the ones that grew the most in July of this year. And there's some very, very interesting findings here and some very interesting surprises, all right, when it comes to how they got the traffic. But first of all, just to mention, this is made by a site called getecommerceleads.com. And they have all these reports on like who are the fastest growing stores, what are the trends for every country. So if you are in e-commerce and if you want to sell to e-commerce, I'll recommend you check them out because this is very useful info and it's very useful to check out who the stores are. Um, so you know who is winning in the industry and what are they doing to win, right? So if we take a look, like this is all triple digit growth, okay? And the most surprising fact, I'd say, is they all grew mostly by organic, okay? And there's some very interesting cases here. For example, these first two, where it seems that they just out of nowhere managed to recover lost traffic. Like they were doing well in organic, like so SEO and organic social, and they managed to recover this lost traffic, seemingly out of nowhere, right? And then you can see that the common trend is like paid media is not really a thing for the stores. We have like maybe one example that, grew a lot through paid media. Maybe we could consider this last example, but most of these stores are like organic SEO, organic social, that is driving this growth. Okay. And for, you have some very interesting picks here. So for example, this Vibe kayaks, which I love the name, you can see that they were not doing that well like last year, right? And then in January, they changed their strategy on socials and on SEO and they started to pick up some traffic. And I'm guessing here this might be some Google core update change that kind of tanked that traffic, but they still managed to recover, which is amazing, right? And then you see some other examples that they always did well, right? So like this coconutballs.com, they always did well. And then they tanked and they lost all the traffic, right? And then it went back up massively, right? So, also a very interesting pattern. And I'll definitely study what they are doing because there's some interesting trends right here. And then we can see other examples of like stores that just had explosive growth. So we're talking like these guys have over 20,000 visits from barely 1,000 before, right? So this is a very interesting pattern. Also no paid media. So this is all organic social and SEO. And the same for this Martin/Rose.com. Also explosive growth, seemingly out of nowhere, and you can see most of these stores follow the same pattern. They just grow out of nowhere and mostly thanks to organic social and SEO, which I think says a lot about the industry where it's going because, we all know that CPCs are rising. We all know that CPMs are rising. So having a very good SEO strategy, a very good organic social strategy is definitely important here if you want the store to just have sustainable growth and then on top of that, you add paid media to capitalize on that and, you do some remarketing or whatever. And with that, we can grow. Even here, we see this antidotestyle.com. That's correct. That's, they did a lot of ads, right? They got a lot of traffic from ads. But at the same time, you see that when it comes to organic, they also basically double their visits, right? So definitely very, very interesting pattern here and kind of proves this theory, right? Same here, like massive jump in organic visits and then some paid media on top of that. Same here, massive jump in organic visits and then some paid media on top of that. So anyway, I'll leave the link for these reports in the description. You can take a look and you can study these stores. And then if you want, you can also browse these other reports they have for like other countries and just worldwide stores. I think this is very useful to study what's going on in Shopify and how the stores are growing so that then you can apply this on lessons to your own store or to your clients in case you are an agency or an app developer, etc. So that's it from my side. Thank you for watching and see you next time.